I mean, no. There's no part of me that thinks it's funny.
Correct. All right, we're back. Okay, wait. Are we going live right on Facebook on this one?
I was just doing the solid recording on this one. Here, fuck it. Let's just. Okay, but like, what are we going to name it? I do think that we should name it like Home Turf or something. You don't want to name it?
I don't not want to name this. No, it's just okay. It'll happen, but for now, it's the standing room. It's like that's what I'm calling it.
Standing room only. Okay, fair enough. Like it's. Yeah. I'm thinking Home Turf because everyone gets to have their own conversations here, and it's a friendly space for people.
And we're all doing it from the comfort of our own home.
That's exactly you nailed it right on the head with that. Like I can't remember if I told you that, but that was like another thought of mine where it's just like it's easy peasy. So,
all right. When our third eventually shows, we will vote together.
That's fair. All right, Wyatt, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. So right now we are filming this middle of March of 2026. We want to cover a couple of things. We want to cover like what's actually going on in the market as a setting the stage bit, and then I think hit what's going into offers, like how deals are going at this point. Does that sound good?
That sounds cool. Good. That sounds
Wyatt, good. Tell me about the market. How would you summarize what's happening, like broad scope?
Broad scope, man, dude. Okay, first off, it's the really clean, really attractive stuff flies right now. If it's priced really well, if it's updated, if it's got like that quirky feature that hasn't come to the market, right? Maybe it's the pool, maybe it's the forested backyard, maybe it's just like a certain style of update that's been done. I think there's a lot of demand for that stuff. Like I went out, I'm seeing agents talk about 6 showings that they're doing this weekend. 5 of the 6 are heading into multiples. I would also say it's super, super property specific as regards to single families versus townhomes versus condos. I think we're seeing a really large discrepancy in how all 3 seem to be behaving. So I think that that's what I would really say. So some stuff's flying, but then if you miss, man, the market's punishing right now. Like it's crazy. And like, I'm seeing it with some of the teams listings. I'm seeing it with like homes I'm looking at where I'm like, wow, they started at 315. They probably should have been at 385 to start. Now that they're at 385, dude, they probably can't buy a showing. So it's just tough in that sense. And I think there's a lot of things going into. I think when it comes to HOA in the townhomes and condos, I think your HOA fees, man. Like I remember when I got in 7 years ago, I would see like a 160 and be like, yeah, that's normal. Now I feel like I look at it and I'm like 345. That's normal. Like it just is crazy how that's gone. And you've looked at where prices have gone and interest rates have gone, and then you slap that on as like the last like nail in the coffin. And I think it's really hard for people to swallow some of those. And condos, I mean, those can get even higher. I mean, depending on what the amenities are, I have looked at stuff north of 1,000. So it's really interesting to look at where the market's behaving. Single family seems to be the hottest. I always feel like that starter price point, whatever community you're in, wherever that is always hot. But that's the market right now. But buyers are still a little finicky, I would say. Like compared to COVID, where I thought they threw the Hail Mary and went all in, now it feels like there's a little bit more like, I didn't like this in the inspection, see you later. Or like just lack of, like if they really are a little bit more finicky to keep together. The cancellation rate shows that too. I want to say that on the last report I saw, it was between 15 and 20% of all deals fell apart.
I'm kind of seeing that as well, where there's like a huge uptick in what's going on. I know a lot of people are like people are canceling for all sorts of reasons right now too. Yeah. I've noticed it's not just inspection related or like home condition related inspections. Like I'm seeing more failures on the side of lending requirements with FHA and VA, which we were not seeing in 20 and 21
for sure.
And we are I don't know if we've had a lot more appraisal failures, but I feel like that's come in a little bit more. If I was just to hazard a guess, but I don't have any actual data there. But it's like I'm seeing lending requirements and whether that's buyers' ability to actually pay for stuff at the moment, like that's going down. Which I think, I mean, I don't know. Maybe sellers are going to have to cave on that. Like I'm previously, I was pretty bullish on spring market for sellers, and I still remain that way. I think there's like a lot of inventory that's being held back right now, but I don't know. It's getting hard to pay for stuff right now. I think for a lot of buyers, I think they're really hurting.
For sure. And I think the conversations I'm having intimately, right? I think like the ones I'm having where I've worked with these buyers, I've got to know them. It's the squeeze in every aspect, right? It's the housing, it's the car, it's the insurance, it's the cost of food, electricity. Like it seems like they're kind of just getting caved in all spots. So I still think there's demand. I just think it's now this like ability becomes part of the question, right? Or like how much can I really chunk towards housing? Is real.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Can I jump in on that too? Because here are the two things. Like this is so we're middle of March right now. Like the two big things that I've seen gas raise about $1 a gallon. I feel like within the last couple of weeks. I don't know about you. I recall not too long ago where gas was at like 258 was like kind of where I was hovering at 260 at the gas station that was like right by my house. And now it's like we're at like 3.25, 330. Am I seeing 350 right now? Am I crazy? Is that like
I think I saw 339 just recently, just the other day.
Yeah, so there's that, and then this weekend we're coming right out of the snowstorm that just occurred just a second ago. In my last seconds sort of stocking for winter, like getting a can of beans, I was going to make some chili. I think a can of black beans or like red beans was like $3, like a can of beans, which like that's pretty crazy to me. That in my head was always like that shouldn't go above $1.
Yep,
for a long time, and now that stuff is at like is 350 now. Now making a chili, which used to be like $10-12. Yeah, that shit's like $25 for like all that stuff. Yep. Like beef prices. Like so to your point, as far as like just like the inflation aspects too, like people are getting squeezed everywhere right now. So I don't know if it's got to be crazy if that's not affecting housing demand
for sure. And I think like what's interesting is I feel like and I don't do a ton of ultra luxury. Like I've got the one where I'm like, can't believe how much demand there is for that. I feel like there's a little bit of no man's land and like, depending on the market, but like what seems to be that like 800K is a little bit no man's land. Obviously if the house was built for it and whatever, there's demand for it. Sure. But it just seems like you break like $1 million. And right now it seems like there's a lot of people who have money to spend there. But I feel like it's like those starter, and I live in Oakdale, so starter price points in Oakdale where I'm like, I look at like a 350, everyone I look at multiple offers, doesn't matter. Like, and so it is like crazy to see some of that stuff where you're just like, holy buckets. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, and it's hard because this is peak season, right? We're statistically, we're in the meat and potatoes of it. We're seeing it. I'm seeing it. I feel like I had a lot of buyers look at inventory and say like, hey, whoa, I was gung ho. Now I'm kind of holding back. And I think the other thing that's so hard is they look at like even rates. The other week, I literally shared like 12 days ago, 5.99 interest rates was the average for the 30-year. It's 6.42 today. Like it's almost 0.5% higher in 10 days. And like, it might not be that killer, like, oh, that's $400 a month, but like 400K home, that might be $80 a month. And that's not chump change. And that's 360 payments of that, which that's a lot. Like I know the average buyer is not paying for that length, but I think there's things like that too, where it's just like those extra, it's those death by a million cuts sometimes.
Yeah. No, it's going to be interesting to see what's going on in the future here. Like I am, because I'm seeing it, I'm kind of seeing it both sides a little bit where, like this was something I figured out just like on a recent video that I was putting together, was that the percent of list price. So my take that I try to tell all my buyers, all my sellers, all my clients, every single agent, is that the listing price is fake. It is like, I think it's 95% of cases, the home is not going to sell for the list price. It's either going to be higher or lower, and we don't always know which direction it's going to be. Yeah. Right. Like that's just a truism. It helps buyers not sweat too much if they think a home is overpriced at a certain thing. It's like, well, yeah, of course they listed it at that point and everything for a reason. And sometimes it's like low, and just get that out of the mindset. Like just don't think of the list price at all. Yeah. It's like it's just a point. It's the opening bid from the seller. But to that, what I saw statistically, and this is just according to InfoSparks, over the last few months, especially in comparison to like the 2020 highs, was homes are going for about 97% of the original list price. So that's 3% off. That means if it was listed for 500, odds are the average home was going to be selling 485, right? If it's at 300, odds are it's going for 291. So that is, and that's just the average. There are plenty of homes that are going for like less than that because it's weighted. So it's like, don't just think of 3% as like the median or mean. It's like you actually have a lot more room to play on certain listings, right, to make that up. And that's also telling me that sellers are listing.
They're shooting for the moon. Yep.
They're shooting for the moon. This is not the old days like we've seen where like list low, like you'll go high. This is so I've been very critical of that strategy that many listing agents were putting out there. It's like, well, you gotta price it low and then like force a fire sale. I don't know if we're in that kind of market right now. I don't know if there's enough. Like there are certainly pockets. For instance, like Southwest Minneapolis, I think you could still probably fly on that. Those guys aren't getting impacted because there's a lot of buyers coming through there. But if you're in the suburbs of the Twin Cities where there aren't as many buyers looking necessarily at any given one time, it could be different. I don't know if that's a strategy I'm tying my ship to in all cases.
For sure. And I think with that one, like every time I've talked to a seller about that, like you've got to be good with the worst case scenario, which is list price. Like, because I've had people where I've said that to, they've agreed to it. And then we have just gotten list price. And it's like, well, like, what do you want to relist it for 10 grand higher? Like you really want, like, that's the tricky part about it, but it's truly the market showing where it feels the value is too.
Right.
Well, and I feel like secondly, back to the finicky buyers now, let's say 15-20% chance it falls apart, having to go back to market is a whole new skill set to bring something back, keep people excited, not freak them out, whether it was an inspection that failed. Cause I've seen people cancel for all sorts of like cold feet all the way through like, no, there's 25,000 in repairs that need to be done too. So it's the fine line. Like, I think that's a big skill set right now. And I think what the industry is really doing as far like you need to have a wider pipe than you've ever had. You need to be doing more activity than you've ever had, but you need to be tolerant that like stuff can just not happen or happen. Like,
well, I have this theory as well that I think we might be just given where homes are sitting for a little bit longer. And I think realtors have been trying to recapture the magic of the 20 and 21. We might be in a post era of that. And I think social media really carried that hard for a long time that I don't know if we are in a market state, and maybe we won't be for a little bit until things just completely readjust. I don't know if listings are going to have the same sort of excitement, and we're going to have to adjust marketing around homes sitting for a little bit and having as like listing agents, having many different homes that people could come see, where having buyers now, I think you're going to have a lot more leverage where we could go see 10 homes in a weekend and we don't have to necessarily worry about the multiple offers anymore because we won't be under as much stress in that regard. I think, I don't know.
And like if it's anything like last year too, like I still feel like we're in a hot season overall.
Yeah, for sure.
It felt like last year I had buyers in like the Northeast Metro where I feel like I like master that market. Like that's what I watch selfishly because I live there, but also like it's where I always feel like I have some sort of buyer activity.
Right.
And I remember like I showed maybe like 8 homes last year and I was like, hey, it's okay if we don't get this one, right? Like I'm like, it's a great home, it's awesome, but like multiples and where the market's at is just driving it up high. And I remember like Shauna Joyce had the great one that was a perfect example. 1,800 square foot, 3-level split. She got like 452 for that. And I was like, I talked to those same buyers and I was like, hold tight. I know that was a great house. Like, let's just pause for a little bit. We ended up getting another split for 400 when the market like a few weeks later just halted. Like, and when we showed that, it happened to be the same time as they're open. There had to be like 24 groups there. Like, I'm not kidding. It was like standing room only. It was insane. And a few weeks later, like stuff just started to sit. And I called agents and I was like, you got multiples? Like, what's going on? And then it just felt like it was just like, boom, over. Like, and I feel like that could happen again this year where like the reality check hits. People are like, interest rates are back to 6.5. And it just like, it does that again. And I don't know if that'll be a month from now. I don't know if that's 8 weeks out. but I do have a feeling that that's coming again.
Yeah. You're saying an adjustment
For sure.
Like a freeze. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause right now it's, today's March 16th. So I guess I would be curious to see 3 months.
Yeah.
What does June 16th look like?
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that'll be interesting to sentiment. So I'll record that down. But like even, I'm gonna show some line graphs here real quick. That's cool.
Do it.
I love hearing your kids in the background. I think it's awesome. Okay. So this is where we go for info sparks all the time too. So I'm going to keep it at the 10 years right now so people can kind of see. And I've got it adjusted for like the 12-month bits or rolling averages. So sell price, yeah, we can all see that there was like the big spike here, and we can try to lower that a little bit. So like 21, right? In 2020, this is when we see like the first big spike, and then 22, like things really start to increase. But like since then, the homes have not been as rising as considerably, although they've been raising quite a bit since then. The more interesting thing, like to your point, is the days on market, I think, because all property types are at like 23 days on market. So a little over 3 weeks versus in 22, we were seeing at 11. So like home times have like just sat on have doubled literally since then, which I think is just giving a lot more room for buyers.
And look at what condos and townhomes have done. They've outperformed as far as that time goes. It's like being comfortable with the longer sales cycle too.
Right. No, condos have like really gone on where there's a part of it. I'm saying this a little cheekily, but it's almost if you purchase a condo, you might as well list it right away.
Yeah.
As soon as you close it, go and just put it right back on the market.
Yeah.
For how long some of them are taking to sit, because again, this is the median. And this is like an encouraging sign for me for condos that overall, they have not actually plummeted in value in the same way as far as their sale prices. They've actually continued to hover.
Correct.
But I still think it's very, very important for people to get it as cheap as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even when you go back to that 3-month rolling as well, seeing the seasonality too, I think that's such a big piece. You see some of the
for sure, kind
of the peaks and valleys, if you may. I mean,
right.
some of that stuff too, when you start to look seasonally at what stuff is doing. Because really, this sales data is usually 30 to 60 days behind, right? If you go under contract. So March is really, probably February or January.
March is December, January, February for sure.
Correct. So you look at some of the sales data there of like what happens. Look at that. You hit March, you hit the peak, and it just plummets downwards. So it's kind of cool to see some of that stuff as well. I think it's hard to translate it because I try to coach so many of my buyers especially buyers, not to be making quick twitch decisions. Right. I think that's where it's hard. That's where you give up a lot of your leverage. So if I can coach them to be like, hey, we did our home search in the non-peak months. Awesome. If I try to get my sellers, and I get it. You can never plan it 100% perfectly, circumstances, whatever. But like the more you can kind of coach around, like, here's what should be happening this time of year. Like, let's maybe jump on it while the iron's hot and really watching it and being able to rip it. Right. I think that's like a huge skill set right now as well. Because I look at those buyers last year that could have bought that 450 that was totally turnkey, but they got a similar house for 50 grand less that they probably had to put 10 grand in to make it to the same quality as the other one. Like it's a net swing of 40 grand. Right. And that's like, because we have the patience to not jump on the first thing that was like a crazy hot one. And I think too, like, especially in the winter, man, I'm not afraid to lowball some crazy, crazy shouts out. And every buyer, I feel like once in a while gets one.
Yeah, it's good to not be afraid of that stuff. For sure, which is why, again, I just tell people the listing price is fake. Don't let it affect your judgment too much on it. I mean, it's up to us. Like, it's up to Wyatt and I to help guide our buyers.
Yeah,
on what's actually gonna make or not. But Yeah, I just wanted to take a look at the new listings for sale here too, because this is telling as well that we are down. So all property types, this is the rolling 3-month. Going back to the monthly is like more fascinating because single family, when I looked for January, particularly in the Twin Cities region, we were actually down 10% in the year over year.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing the single family come back in February.
Yeah.
I've been chalking a lot of that stuff up to kind of ICE stuff that was going on in Minnesota in January. So because we saw the resurgence of 4% increase in listings last year, which I think most listings held on from January and came back on in February. So it'll be interesting to see this month.
If you go to click the new construction tab. I'm curious how they're performing.
We'll do.
Right. Yeah. Look at them.
Let's separate it out. So yeah, new construction. Yeah, they are down 18% in new listings.
Yep.
That is interesting.
For sure. And I think that becomes tough too, right? Because I think, the cost of building, the cost of permits, all that stuff is hard. And I think too, now you're running out of very, very highly in demand parts of the metro too. As you start to run out, like, Woodbury's getting fully built. Eden Prairie's fully built at this point. Like, you're running out of communities there. You're getting into the outskirts of the remaining really good stuff. And then now it's like you're seeing these, I don't want to call them second tier as far as demand, but as far as like, hey, if you work in Minneapolis, living in Rogers becomes all of a sudden a very tough drive every time. So you're watching remote work exit. So I think there's a lot of things that are going to make that for a very interesting conversation in the future here.
Yeah, here I'm going to anything else on stats, because I think that's the second tier stuff I think is really interesting.
Go to showings per listing as well as the other one. That's the other one I love to visit. Bottom right there, because you see, it's picking up for sure, which is great, and it should peak out where it was. But you look at some of those winter months, man, you're like, holy smokes, did you get low down there?
Oh, for sure, yeah, especially December, where you were getting for that entire 30 days 3 showings for a single family home.
Yep,
in the whole month.
Correct.
Is what that's measuring. So that's crazy.
Correct. So yeah, we're starting to see it do what it does. It'll start to separate here, but I have a feeling it's going to be a short little peak here as well.
The shows depending is always a fun one too, so we should get that many showings. We need it's going to take us this long to get this many showings, which will convert into an acceptable offer. Correct. I always translate that.
Yeah.
But no, even to your point, like the long-termness of like what's going to be required for the more well-liked areas, more needed areas. I've been fascinated by that. Like we almost need like a third or fourth city and like some of these like bigger sprawls to kind of occur on the outskirts.
Yep.
Like, because that's just ultimately where we're going to have to go. More like Chicago style, where have like a lot more hubs out there. And I'm thinking South is going to be really interesting. I think North is going to be interesting. I don't know if Northwest, because of the 94 corridor up to Fargo, I feel like that's going to develop really, really well. Or I think is going to remain empty, but I think there's going to be some little spoke down there that's going to occur, especially Carver, because Carver's getting built out like crazy too. Yeah,
Lakeville seems like it's it's crazy to go down there. That's where my mom lived when I was growing up, and like I look at that, it's a different city than it was 20 years ago. It's insane. But that one makes sense with 35 splitting right there, being able to go either direction is pretty nice. So I feel like that's a no-brainer for the South at least.
I think so too.
Yeah, but yeah, and I think the other thing we're seeing too that's very interesting right now is like, and I'll selfishly, I think in my own, my client is the one who brought this, but we have my 1.2 for sale. We had somebody back out, and he's like, I think the stock market dropping as much as it did and so being so volatile. I mean, three big weeks down, if your investments were on the poor side of averages, I mean, he's like, if they had $1 million invested, they literally could have watched, 150,000 evaporate like that. And so that all of a sudden he's like, so that was a conversation he's having as well. So I think, nothing seems to surprise me anymore. Like it is rolling with the punches and being like, well, that another day, another thing.
Well, yeah, and that's going to be the interesting part to watch for our industry too, because overall, as far as like transactions, and this is what I've been chatting about with a lot of folks, is that transactions I think are gonna go down because people aren't going to choose to move in the same way because
Yeah,
there was just a lot more inventory out, whatever. But I think people are going to essentially be more or less like forced to move due to life circumstances.
yep,
That I think we are going to be seeing a lot more of that stuff where sellers need every dollar that they can get versus before it was just like, oh, hey, if we get this, we're good. But like we're gonna get a really great house, and then oh, we just sold like way over list. Now we've got all those dollars. So where now with everybody locked in at those homes at the higher price points, like this is going to be it's going to be interesting to watch all that stuff too. And
for sure,
we're going to be impacted because each home is probably going to just be a lot harder for
for
that.
sure. And
Which is why which is why people need to like look at the expertises of their specific agent. Like, what is their marketing like? What is their negotiating like? Because I think negotiations are going to be like
huge,
way more worth their bucket than they were previously. I mean, those were always gravy. Like it's like you don't see the negotiation when things tend to go in one direction.
yeah,
But like now, I think the negotiations are like it's like this is our limit. We will not go further, and like really knowing the ins and outs of each transaction. I think
for
are
sure.
gonna be
I think
huge.
that's going to be huge. No, I think the hard part is like 2021 through 2020 through probably late 2023. It wasn't even a skill market. It was like show up with the buyer with the best bank and you're good. Like wave as much as you can. Like it didn't feel like it felt like you were more of an order taker than you really were like, and not on every transaction, right? There was still a lot of room for skill and stuff. But it felt like, especially like on the buy side, it was just like the amount of times we didn't have to negotiate a deal for like 3 or 4 years was insane. Where it was just like, well, this is the best that they're willing to do. You taking it or no? Like,
Yeah. So like yeah. There's going to be all sorts of like kind of like winning like winners and losers in this case too. But I think overall I think it's going to be generally harder for most people.
Yep.
Like I think on each side, I think everyone's gonna feel the hurt here.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is like, especially like I just turned 30. I think like for our generation too, I'm watching so many people get left off of the home ownership train as it becomes more expensive. The bridge becomes further to attain. Like
Right.
the amount of my friends that don't own homes and are like not, on the cusp of it is tough because you're watching the median home age go up. You're watching all those things push back. And I think that gets really hard because it's, I've been in my home for almost 8 years now. And I look at how much wealth it's created just in my own life. And I'm like, man, like it sucks to watch that push back another 10 years for some people. Like I think the median age for first time home buyers is like, I think it's like a good chunk over 40 right now.
I last I saw, I thought it was like 38.
I think it crushed 40. Like I think it jumped to like 43 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Oh, got it. Because and so what's very interesting about that stat is whatever it was like last year, or like whenever I got the number 38, because I think it used to be like 28 or something.
Yeah.
Where it's like that mark was literally 10 years. Like it was a 10-year spread, and the average increased by 10 years. So
Correct.
it's the same buyer pool that that was completely blasted.
Yes.
Like because if you either bought at that age or you got wasted. No, like was like but like that's what's borne out in the data. That's how the data is saying.
And what's hard is it's such a big generational wealth piece because it's kind of a threefold. It's the fixed rate payment, which is like the greatest thing ever, right? Like I love the consistency. The amount of times I talk to friends who are like, oh, my rent just went up $250. My rent just went up this. Like I'm like, that's crazy. So you're dealing with that. You're dealing with the principal pay down, and then you're dealing with appreciation as well. And you're kind of getting this like huge spread over time. And I think, it's tough to watch that as it gets harder for some of these first time buyers, or like I'm having conversations and they see like, hey, what does my rent get me versus what the house gets me now? And you're like, ooh, it's not as good as it translated out a few years back either.
For sure.
No, somebody used to be able to trade in a $2,000 rent for like a really lateral move in home ownership, or like a small increase, and they got a nice single family. And now it just is different watching all those things too.
Yeah. All
Heck
right.
yeah. Hit me with the Rose and Thorn.
All right, Rose and Thorn. Rose just got done with first weekend of shows for the musical. It was awesome. Had some fun folks out. We had to cancel one of our shows on Sunday because the snow got really, really bad. But we rescheduled that one for this coming Saturday. So we're going to be doing 4 shows this weekend. So that'll be really, really fun.
Heck yeah.
That was awesome. The Thorn, I don't know. I'm having a pretty good week. I think the only Thorn I can think of is that we got more snow, so I was emotionally attached to spring, but I don't mind snow and and just winter generally. So I'm okay with winter getting its last gasp here or 2. This could be false spring number 2 out of 3. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
How about you, Wyatt?
Honestly, no, great week. My wife had spring break last week. That was my Rose, being able to spend more time with my family. That was a really nice recharge. I think that's great when that gets to happen. Mm-hmm. Thorn. I think last week we celebrated that I put my biggest one under contract and it fell apart. So
damn. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. That's okay though. So it means we get to bring it back to market. It'll be good. We got to go through some staging. It'll be fine. So, and I think it goes back to things happen, right? Buyers flake all the time. Something happens, so it'll be good.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, Wyatt, can't wait to catch you next week.
Sounds good, my friend. Thank you.